Hello, everybody. I'm so pleased to have Demetrius Matthews with us, who, of course, is the engine behind the film KLING. That's one of our online offerings here at the 2021 Twin Cities Film Fest. So I couldn't be more pleased to have Demetrius with us, who spent a lot of time in the Twin Cities. We're going to hear more about it. Demetrius, thank you so much for letting us show your art at the Twin Cities Film Fest. Are you excited or?
Yes, well, thank you for having me, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to have this film presented to the world. So I'm very excited.
Well, I know it's been presented a little bit to a small world, and now it's maybe going to get a little bit more distribution, if you will. But I think we live in a day and age where heartwarming stories and the stories of connections and relationships and how simple, meaningful things we do with each other can really affect our lives. So yes, give us a what motivated you, because you went back after many years. This teacher was around for 3 years of your life, had a huge impact. What motivated you to finally tell this story?
I think it's the $1 million question, because what happened is that I moved to Minneapolis at around maybe 17 years old.
Yep.
And so I ended up finishing my last year of high school here in Minneapolis. But then when I tell, I went to college, and my background is accounting and computer science. But when I tell everyone that I'm from the west side of Chicago, everyone asks, like, what? How did you make it out?
Yeah.
Then it always brought me back to that, the special teacher, Mr. Tom KLING. And he sacrificed so much for us. He was our teacher. He was our grade school teacher from 6th through 8th grade. And so he basically taught us in high school and college levels during that short amount of time that we were his students. And so I've always wanted to tell his story, and because he was so special, and he really sacrificed for about 35 kids. And so that's when I got into a position where I started picking up film and getting into film and productions and recording, things like that. And so I say, well, the first thing I need to do is just take care of my bucket list. And this is one of the major projects that I worked on. And here we are.
telling a story, something that's important, it makes you very motivated, all that kind of stuff. And maybe describe just a little bit to us. So Mr. KLING was a teacher in 6th through 8th grade. Were you moving from class to class, or was there a specific class that he taught? What was it?
Yeah, well, this was a special program. Chicago public school system was deemed one of the worst schools, one of the most worst schools in America. And so basically the mayor called up the school superintendent and say, hey, I want your best teachers, and we're going to send them to the west side of Chicago, to the south side of Chicago. And Mr. KLING was one of those teachers who were selected. Normally, the school's classrooms where you have a teacher in 1 year, then another teacher the next year, there was never any one teacher that's taken ownership of the class for 3 consecutive years. And so that was one of the first special programs. And so Mr. KLING done so well, our scores were so high with the testing and standardized testing that we got attention of the whole city, where we sent in news reporters to kind of follow us and track our class. There was also maybe like a lightweight investigation where they thought that one day he was probably accused of helping us cheat or taking the test for us.
Hey, nerds don't cheat.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah.
Well, how special is that? Because again, most of us maybe have a teacher for more than one class in the course of high school or junior high, or we take a certain curriculum where we have a teacher over a long time, or our advisor maybe in college. But that's a really long amount of time.
Yes, he was our general teacher. He taught us from reading, math, science, everything. In just that one classroom. But our scores, like I said, that our scores were over high school level that we were coming out, and no one really could believe that these kids from the west side of Chicago, one of the most poorly resourced schools in the country, were testing out at this high level. And so then once that happened, and then we started, getting awards and just getting major recognition from the city.
Was it more the book learning that he taught you, or the life lessons that he taught you?
Well,
or was it a balance?
Yeah, it was a balance, I would say, because he taught us life lessons. We've read the books that we read that he bought us was not curriculum. I mean, so we've studied poetry, Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
We
You started
played
with Black Boys, didn't you? You
yeah,
started
Black
with,
Boy,
yeah.
yeah,
If that's
yeah.
not an
He had
easy
us
start, yeah.
right. He had us on debating teams, and I mean, so we would pick a subject and we would play devil's advocate in a debate. He would divide the classroom up. So he really just exposed us to real world issues where we debated. We debated about reparations, in the 80s.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he brought a lot of things to our attention, but the math, I would say that, he really, the way he taught math, everybody got it. And so that was one of the strong points of my whole learning ability as far as the math that he taught.
Well, and it sounds like that gift, did he was such an interesting individual. From my perspective, he was an interesting individual. Here's an example. I teach communications, and when I listened to this man for 47 minutes, he never said the word once.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Most people do that, but he had this sort of cadence and here I go, and I'm on for you, but he
right.
just this way of communicating that was so solid and so secure and so believable and so trustworthy. And he seemed like he was affected equally by you guys. So
yeah,
I got to know him as an older person. How was he different 30 years ago?
Well, he was, I think that for a lot of us during that time a lot of us didn't have fathers at home. I mean, so he was a dad, not just a dad to the boys in the class, the males in the class, but also to the females. Mm-hmm. And so he would play basketball with us, after class, he really made, we had about 35 kids in our class. He made sure everyone got it. He made sure everyone understood the lessons that he was teaching. Nice. Like some of the students, the female students, say he would have them stay after school, to do extra math, to make sure you just couldn't fake it through with them. But also he brought in real life, scenarios where he would just, he's a white guy coming from the suburbs that he really didn't have to teach, 45 and a half minute drive. Maybe an hour drive to teach these kids on the west side of Chicago, where he's risking his life literally, every day, for 3.5 years that he was doing this. And his family, his mom, his not parents, but his wife, wanted him home with his kids. So he spent so much time with us. And so it took a really huge burden. It placed a really huge burden on him, to get us through everything, but he did. And he was battling between his family and us. And I felt this pain as a kid.
Yes, you had talked about that. Yeah. The idea that you knew it was difficult for him, but even how fortunate back in the 80s. I think white privilege is back in our vernacular. In an okay way to identify and realize it's a real thing and we shall do it. But how fortunate you were sort of exposed to that at a younger age so that you understand sort of how it's going on. Did his whiteness ever affect? It seems like everyone loved him.
Yeah.
Did the administration like him? Did
the administration did not like him? His peers, his colleagues, they did not like him because they saw how much love that we had for him. So it was a little bit of envy there, but also that the way he would talk, here's a white guy, he was telling us that you guys have to be 3 times better than me just to keep up with me. And he was bringing a lot of racial issues to us during this time when he was the only white person that we ever met in a predominantly Black city.
Oh, sure.
And so he would talk about these things, and I was wondering, why is he always talking about himself or his race, really? And so, but as I got older, I began to understand, especially in corporate America, that I had to be 5 times better than my counterparts. And I wasn't allowed to make mistakes.
And don't you think, in some respects, he was also setting everyone up to the idea that we can have conversations that include the color of our skin and how society treats different people, recognize it, and just have a meaningful, respectful dialogue. The other thing about him, and again, I come from an acting storytelling place, he seems extremely emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did that ever get in the way, or was that something that helped the connection?
He was, it was, he was very emotional at that time, but it was like, I used to love to see him laugh because he was always so serious. But
Oh,
he would
sure.
laugh. He had a very good, he has a sense of humor. And when he gets mad, he gets mad.
Well, I was going to ask, was he a disciplinarian? Was he very
He
strict?
he wasn't strict, but he just made sure the education was, he made sure that we got it, and he didn't play any games with that. He did not budge,
Yeah.
and he did not budge not one bit. And that's why I think out of most of the students that were there, we were all successful, because of that. But he did not budge on education, period. But he let us play.
Yep. Thank you for sending the clip of the reunion and the premiere kind of private screening of this film for some of the people that, like yourself, was affected by Mr. Kling. What was that day like a couple months ago?
Wow.
11?
Yeah. Yeah.
Month
It was amazing. It was amazing because I saw my classmates, and and everyone told their story. Everyone had their journey, to where they are today. And it all rolls back to the same thing, Mr. Kling, Mr. Tom Kling. And he was there, and he was just, a lot of times that, we don't give people these type of recognitions and praise while they're alive.
I'm with you.
And I made the choice, so that's why I did this film, is that I don't want to go there in front of his family and say how much of a great man he was. Like
Tell
he's
it to
right
his
now.
face.
He's
Yes.
with us. Yeah.
I
And so
appreciate you. Yes.
yeah. And then his
Yeah.
friends, one of his close friends came up to us, and he said that this was a really great time that you guys, talked to Tom, because it seems like he was kind of, kind of going through some things and some hard times, losing his mom, and just kind of was giving up. But this is just kind of made him live again. He sees the spark in his eye, so
Kind of buoyed him a little bit, just
yeah.
lift your spirits oftentimes can help make us get through those sort of rocky times as well. So you've done
Absolutely.
this documentary, then there's that short sort of commemorative recap of that. And your organization now is Legacy Media, if I think
Yes,
did I get that right?
Legacy Media.
Well,
Yes.
what's happening with that then? You've got these things going. What's next? What's happening?
Well, we have I have a couple more, we have a couple more projects that's coming along right now after we're done with this. Right now, we're still trying to tread the waters and trying to get this exposed and just put it out there so the world can share it and just learn about him just as, and love him just as much as we love him, and so Legacy Media, we're still relatively new in the film industry. And so we're learning right now. I'm just doing a lot of research and just trying to figure out, now that we have a film, what's next, what avenues that we should take. But I got a couple more films underway that we're working on as well. And so I'm really excited about those.
Well, and you were obviously front and center getting this one done, but give me a glimpse into some of your colleagues, the people that helped get this project together and help create not only this project, but this commemorative thing. Event somewhat for your beloved teacher.
Yes, sir. Well, actually, my assistant, Jerome, he's really helped out a lot. We recruited my younger brother. He's 17 years old now, and he just graduated high school about a few months ago. But he also helped out in the film and part of the crew. But we're a small crew, and we just kind of took our time and just did it. And just, try to do it the right way.
Was it difficult once you sat down, different people and whatnot, to kind of narrow this down to what you wanted to include? A lot of times some of our viewers maybe aren't documentarists or make films. Give us just like a quick glimpse of when you shot this. And again, it was during COVID time. I mean, I saw some masks on people and different things. How long did you shoot, and how long did it take you to get the final edit?
Yeah, I think we were working on this project for about 3 months, which is long for us. And but as far as the way it came out, the way we saw it, I mean, this is my personal story. So I was narrating and I was kind of going through it. So it was exactly how, how I seen it envisioned into my head. And so having the privilege to being involved in this, so it just rolled off, and it was just it seemed all divine to me as well, even from leading up to this point here.
Well, we could not be more pleased to include it in our wonderful lineup at the Twin Cities Film Fest this year. So we really want to encourage people to, if they've watched the film and it meant something to them and it could help someone else out, or, we always think of films should make us think and feel, please share with our friends. Demetrius, we want to keep an eye on what you're working on,
Yes.
help us spread the word. And we were so glad to have you part of the festival.
Well, thank you very much. It's really a pleasure. I can't believe I'm here.
It's all divine.
For such a great deal. This is a great deal.
Everything happens for a reason. Thank you.
Right on. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.